welcome to WITV7. I'm your host, Byron Pettit of Family Matters. Here we are again today, checking in with a good individual who I'm excited to interview and get some information from him and hear his story. His name is Oronde McClain. He's out of Pennsylvania. But before we get into it, Family Matters airs every Thursday at 9 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And let me say this before I forget, if you want to donate to WITV7, please go back to WITV7.org and hit the donate button. Any sort of money you can provide helps the show continue to go. But back to our guest, Mr. McClain out of Pennsylvania. He is a father, he is a husband, he is an author. He's wrote a book, he'll tell us about that. He is a community activist, and he is a gun violence survivor. Mr. McClain, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, brother.
All right, I'm glad you're here. I got an opportunity to read your story, read up on you, but for the listening audience, tell us what happened to your life at 10 years of age. What impacted you at 10 years of age and brought you up into this point here?
Okay, I was a regular 10-year-old. I was in the 4th grade. I decided to go to the Chinese store with my mom. I went to the Chinese store. My mom left. Maybe I went to I was inside the Chinese store. Give it 2-3 minutes. I was waiting for the bus. Somebody was getting off, and I got off the Chinese store, and 2-3 minutes, I hear gunshots. I run back to the Chinese store, and the Chinese store lady, she shut the door on me, and I got shot in the back of my head. Maybe 5 minutes later, right next door to the Chinese store is a 7-Eleven, and 2 cops were sitting there. They didn't call for backup. They didn't call the ambulance. They scooped me up and took me straight to Einstein. So from where I got shot at to the hospital, roughly is about a 13-minute ride. They got me there in 90 seconds. That ultimately saved my life. That's why I'm sitting with you today. I had 3 surgeries. 2 of the surgeries was at Einstein, and while I was at CHOP, they transferred my brain and my body to CHOP. So that's Children's Hospital of Philadelphia. While I was there, they worked on my brain to try because it was bleeding, but they took it out my body, and I fell into a coma for 7 weeks. I had to learn how to walk, talk all over again. I used to be right-handed. Now I'm left-handed. My right side of my body is still partially paralyzed, but I am what I am now. It took me about 15 years to be 67% healed, because I still go through PTSD. I still go through flashbacks. That's basically it. I tried to, when I was maybe from 12 to 24, I tried to commit suicide 22 times. Because when I take you back from the Chinese store, when I was laying there, I died for 2 minutes and 17 seconds. When I was laying there, I had an out-of-body experience. A lot of people wouldn't realize it until they won't get my drift unless they was in my situation. I was climbing this ladder. The weather was perfect. It was like amazing. Climbing this ladder. I felt like an athlete in my 10 years of life. Climbing this ladder. It felt like forever, but it felt so amazing that I had to get to this light that I was going towards. I could say the light was like, it wasn't like a sunshine, it was like a end of the tunnel that you would get a prize at the end of the tunnel. So I'm reaching there, and somebody just grabbed me, somebody plucked me off the ladder, and I woke up 7 weeks later. Through the suicides, I couldn't do anything. So all I remember, like, you know what? I need to go back to this light that I was going towards, and I was unsuccessful maybe 22 times. I mean, I felt like an idiot, but at the same time, I kept telling everybody, "Y'all don't understand that light. That light, I had to get there." And people like, "Oh no, you crazy? It's no light." It was a light. That's why I tried to go. But that's basically it. Now I'm 32. I have 5 children. Um, I'm a I'm a mental health tech. I work with veterans. I'm married, and I run a nonprofit organization called the McClain Foundation, where I try to help other survivors. Because when I was 10, 12, 15, 17, it was nobody there for me. It wasn't no survivor that felt my pain. Everybody tried to help me, like, "Oh, it will be okay," but you can't say you will be okay. You can't say you understand, because you really don't understand, because you've never been shot, you've never been a victim. So I hate that word. "Oh, I understand it will be okay." It won't be okay, because you can't tell me it will be okay. So I run a nonprofit organization, and I collect um, victims that have been shot, and we're going field trips, and I just basically talk to them, do one-on-ones, and I'm telling them I'm here for them. I felt like I'm the voice for them, because I understand what they went through. Um, I wrote a book. It's called PTSD Won't Define Me, because I'm still struggling with PTSD. But I tell everybody, it won't define me. It's not going to make me weak. It's not going to make me in my life no more, because I'm still stuck with the diagnosis, but it won't make me or break me.
Yeah, yeah. I appreciate you sharing with that. Let me ask you a question. And going back, it was, and I'm gonna make an assumption, so correct me when I'm wrong. So the shooting was a random shooting that was just happening within the community, and you
Yes,
were okay, okay,
it was a drive-by.
okay, okay. And were the assailants ever caught?
No,
Okay, okay. And this happened when you and I talked offline. This happened in Philadelphia.
Philadelphia. Yep.
Okay. And you have since moved out of Philadelphia.
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
Well, maybe
Now,
like I'm only like an hour away.
okay. Okay. Well, now you talked about 22 times that you tried to take your life. And again, correct me, because as you said, I was trying to reach this light. What what caused you to stop? And I'm glad you did stop, because you're here to tell your story. Let's be clear about that. But why did you say, you know what? I think there's a purpose and a plan for my life that God has. But why did you stop?
Because, like you said, I found a purpose. My purpose was to get better and try to help other people. I said, why would I kill myself if I could share my story to other people, and I could stop other people to try to commit suicide?
Yeah, yeah. Now you also mentioned, I still suffer from PTSD, but that doesn't define who I am. Are there
Yes.
certain triggers that causes PTSD? Is there a door shut or anything like that? What things causes the PTSD?
Um, loud noises, firecrackers, certain smells, certain dreams that I have, and I wake up sweating and all that.
Okay, okay. Now the work that you do with the gun violence survivors, are there similar, not necessarily stories, but there's similar things that they say, hey, I experienced this, I feel the same thing as you felt, because of connection with gun violence survivors? Is there anything in particular that you both connect with?
Yes, nightmares, um, people thinking that they out to get them. Like I said, loud noises, firecrackers, is all in the same realm.
Okay, okay. Now, how has you mentioned you say you have 5 kids, right?
Yes.
Okay, and you married. How are they supporting you along this journey? I mean, what do they do, and how have they been inspiration for you?
My wife is very supportive, because I wake up with sweats, and I might have a seizure, and she's a nurse, so she'll be like, "Oh, it's okay. You'll be okay. You don't have to be afraid." A regular person wouldn't do that to you. They'd be scared too. They'd be afraid. and she's used to it now. She's not afraid. She equipped with what to do. My kids, I have young kids, so they're still a little nervous, but they read my book and they understand. They understand. And my wife, like I said, she'll tell them, like, look, daddy is sick right now. Just give him some time. That's about it.
Okay. Now, do you find yourself, because I have young children as well, do you find yourself, and I don't know where you live, if you're an hour away from Philly, do you allow, or do you see yourself getting nervous if your children go out and play? Or are you always there? You say, look, I've got to let them experience life. So I'm not always keeping, I'm not being a helicopter dad hovering around them all the time. But do you find yourself sometimes feeling a little bit uneasy, allow them to go out and do things by themselves?
Well, where I live at now, no, I let them go wherever,
Okay.
because it's like a different atmosphere. But if I was in Philly, no, they wouldn't go nowhere.
Okay.
At all. Like I took them to where I got shot at, and it's the first time we all was there. Maybe for like 15, 20 years ago. I took them maybe it was about 4 or 5 months ago, and explained to them what happened. I was standing right there. This is what happened to me, so they fully aware what's going on and why I feel the way I feel and what happened to me. So
Now,
they understand the concept.
how was that? How was that for you when you went back there, just to experience taking to that place?
That was nervous because my 3-year-old Jace, he ran straight to the store, and I tried to run. I tried to catch him. Like, oh no, don't go to the store. They're gonna shut the door on me. So that was like a PTSD moment right there. But I had to realize, like, oh no, it's okay. It's 21 years later. The times have changed, and it was a little emotional roller coaster because my wife was like, "Oh, this is what happened, and this is what happened," and retelling the story. I never retold the story while I was actually there, so that was a little like emotional.
Okay. Now you mentioned as you said PTSD. Now, do you attend counseling for that, or is that something you take care of yourself in regards to, like you said, certain triggers, certain things? I don't put myself in certain situations, but do you receive counseling?
So the form, I'm not a doctor and I don't give advice, but the form of my counselor is my family, and the type of work I do, because I run groups and everything. That's like my counselor. Giving back is my counselor. My nonprofit is my counselor.
Okay, great. So let's do this. We're gonna go to commercial break. When we come back, I want to ask Mr. McClain some questions in regards to his book, spend some more time talking about his nonprofit organization and what maybe he thinks, if he was given a blank check, could solve some of the problems of gun violence, not only in Philadelphia, but maybe across the country. All right, okay. We're going to go to commercial break, and we'll be right back.
Are you ready to buy a new home or refinance a home? Call Quentin Johnson at Homestar Financial. Homestar Financial offers competitive rates for home improvement, new construction, FHA, VA, conventional, and USDA loans. Take advantage of today's low interest rates by being a smart and prepared buyer. Get pre-approved today and find out just how much house you can afford. Call Quentin Johnson at Homestar Financial, 704-526-4007, extension 50306. Homestar Financial makes home ownership a reality. In MLS 161685, equal housing lender.
Hello and welcome to WITV7. We're back with Mr. McClain out of Pennsylvania. Mr. McClain, before we went to break, you were sharing with us when you unfortunately got shot and when you came out the 7-week coma, you were born right-handed and now you were left-handed. And you talked a bit about going through the physical changes of the body, but talk to us specifically, what was it like going through rehabilitation and what that feeling was like for you, number one? And did you question your faith? Like, why me? Why did this have to happen to me?
Yeah, number one, rehab was so hard because, like, I had the type of family, like my mom was like, she was young. She was like 15 when she had me. So, and I was the only son. So she like, well, my son can't come home in a wheelchair, or my son can't do the things he used to do. So, like, she would like do extra therapy with me. Like, you're not coming out this room unless you know how to tie your shoes. You're not coming out this room unless you know how to walk. So it was like the mental, like the tough love coming from a Black mom, a single mom actually. So she like, you can't do this. And it wasn't, I think the therapist, when they wasn't understanding it, while she was in therapy with me, like giving me this tough love, the therapist looking at her like, no, it's okay. And she like, no, it's not okay. This is my son. So I'm gonna tell you what to do with my son. Yeah, I mean, so that was difficult, and therapy was rough. They used to make me like, CHOP is Children's Hospital of Philadelphia. It used to be a McDonald's on the bottom, and I loved, like, they had chicken selects. They don't have that anymore, and I used to love them. So my mom like, listen, if you want them, you gonna have to walk to McDonald's. And I'm like, well, the doctor said I could use my wheelchair. She like, walk. So I used to crawl from the 7th floor, like actually crawl. 30 days, I'm crawling until I walked a little bit. Then 2 years, I'm walking and going to get my own chicken selects. Now I was like, I don't like chicken selects no more. I'm gonna walk somewhere else. So that was like a great thing. Physical care, like I said, it was hard. I used to cry every day because I didn't understand why I had to switch hands, and it was so many emotions that was going through my head. And everybody asked me, did I question my faith? Yeah, I didn't. On my grandma's side, he was Christian. I used to go to church every day. Every Sunday. I used to go to Bible study. I used to go to church at 6:30 in the morning, and you get out at 8:30, and at 9 o'clock, you're ready to go to breakfast. And I used to hate going, but she used to drag my leg and say, go, you gotta go. And I'm like, from 6 to 9, I was faithful. I only had $2 in my pocket, and I was giving Jesus $2. And I said, it's only 10%. I'm giving you my whole $2. And then you gonna shoot me? I said, I don't understand. So I told my grandma, I'm not going to church. From like 10 to 17, I didn't say I was an atheist. It's just that I didn't question. They'd be like, oh, you got shot for a reason. He got better plans. How you going to tell? You don't know what's going on in my body. He got better plans. No, I need to reverse me getting shot. Oh, no, he's not going to shoot you unless you knew he was ready for it. All these Christians and all these like scriptures they was throwing out, I didn't understand. I wasn't trying to hear none of that. I said, I don't know what God you serve, but a God I serve, he wouldn't shoot you and then let you be laughed at and be humiliated and made you walk to McDonald's. What I look like, that's not cool. So my wife, again, she was like, listen, go to church. And I start reading the Bible, and I'm like, oh, maybe I'm the stronger. Maybe I'm the strong guy. Maybe I did this for a reason. You know what? Maybe he did this so I could lead other people. I'm not saying I'm a leader, but maybe I had to lead the victims so they could become other stronger survivors. So it all came in play. It's all connected. But from 10 to 17, I just lost it because I didn't know who to trust. I didn't know what to do. Even the pastor was telling me like, oh, it'll be okay. You get paid to do that, sir. You got paid to tell me it's okay. But right. I'm going to tell you this, you're not getting my $2 no more. So it was like,
yeah. But you know, I think the thing about it is, and just hearing this brief part of your journey is what a blessing to have two strong women in your life. You had a mom who said, you want something you like, them chicken selects, you gonna figure out how to way to get there. You gonna come up out that chair, you gonna figure out a way to go McDonald's and get some chicken selects. And she stayed on you, she pushed you because she knew she saw something in you. Fast forward now to your 4th grade classmate who is now your wife, same sort of strength with a different person, like go back to church, get back into the Bible. And like you said, you begin to see these stories and say, well, you know what? Maybe God can take the weak and make them strong. So it's amazing how sometimes what we figure to be a burden is a blessing. You never figure out how the blessing would have to be like, Lord, I'm right-handed now, I'm left-handed, but it's all started part of this process that God has for us that we sometimes don't understand. So this is why the show is called Family Matters. You said you have a strong family that continues to support you. And that right there is a blessing right there in itself.
It is.
Yeah. Now, I also saw in doing some research on you that you were protesting, or you get out there and advocate. Talk a little bit about what your perception is within the cities. Are the cities doing enough? We can take Philadelphia, you can take Charlotte, LA, Chicago, Detroit, where there's a lot of, let's just call it violence, and let's stick particularly to gun violence. But what is not being done to eradicate gun violence?
There's nothing at all. They're not doing anything. So I'm gonna give you an example. I'm doing a documentary, right? It's 563 murders in Philadelphia last year, right? We just talking about the murders, but that's all you hear on the news. You don't never hear, oh, 200 people survived, 300 people survived. They had over 3,000 survivors last year. You don't hear none of that. All you hear is the murders. So, for example, the murders, right? Somebody die, they get a good funeral. They get every year a balloon release. They get what you call it, like a funeral. But the survivors, they kick them out the hospital, and they expect them to go back to work. They don't get anything at all. So the violence is really coming from the survivors, because they don't really have nothing to do. They can't get nothing. I talked to so many survivors, they get kicked out of they get fired from their job because they can't perform how they used to perform. And nobody can tell their boss, oh, I got shot. They don't want to hear all that. So the city, I'm going to use my city, they don't do anything at all for survivors at all. The violence is going to keep continuing unless they put a program for survivors. That's my take on it.
Yeah, I think, no, that you're right. I think that's a great point. Is like, we'll do balloon releases. We'll obviously do homegoing services for folks that have lost lives. But you're right. For those who are surviving gun violence, it's almost like, okay, we acknowledge you that you may suffer an injury, you may be paralyzed, but let's get back to work. It's not as easy, like you said, for us who have not experienced it, to really think that it's just easy for you to go back and go to work,
Right.
and go back to be a husband, being a father, being a child. There's still those issues of trauma that you've expressed to us that's hard to work through. Yeah, we got to do better. So let me ask you another question. So if you was given a blank check, what was something that you would do to help gun violence? Like, here, Mr. McClain, here's all this money given to you. What you gonna do in the city of Philadelphia to meet the needs of the survivors?
I will open up. So in Philadelphia, is no like recreational park. They had one, but they're trying to close it. They closed it down. So people with wheelchairs, people that really can't walk, there's nowhere for them to like take their kids and be like a handicapped accessible park. So I will build a handicapped accessible park for survivors. And we really don't have, there's really no program for us to go to. Like, you have the McClain Foundation, but I'm just a small organization. You don't have like a big organization like Comcast or Verizon to help us like navigate to the city.
Yeah. What about, do you see, obviously, if there's not facilities, like you said, parks, wheelchair accessible parks, so I'm gonna make an assumption again. I'm assuming there's not a lot of organizations or agencies that are offering counseling to gun violence survivors. So unless you got insurance for that.
Right. So it is, right?
Okay.
But they are so backed up. They just like, we can't help you. We can't help you. We sorry that you got shot. Try again next year. And they really focus on like the victims of the families that their sons or daughters got murdered.
Yes. Okay.
They put them first because they feel like, oh, they're more important. They might commit suicide sooner than you. And you got a chance. They don't. Their window are closing. So yeah, you're absolutely right about that one.
Okay. So talk to us a little bit about the book. What's the name of your book, and how do folks get a copy of that book?
PTSD Won't Define Me, and it's on Amazon. Just search it. Search PTSD Won't Define Me.
Okay. Now, so Ms. McClain, the beautiful thing about this broadcast, this is seen all over the world. So it's not just, specific to Charlotte or Pennsylvania or Philadelphia or what have you. People all over the world see this. For those who are watching, and I beg and I plead that you donate to Mr. McClain and his organization. What is the name of your organization, and how do people get a hold of you? Because I want people to donate and fund your organization to help out gun violence survivors.
My organization is the McClain Foundation. You can look us up on Facebook and Instagram, the McClain Foundation, or just Oronde McClain, and it will just pop up. And I have a website, themcclainfoundation.org.
Okay, thank you. Last thing, if you can leave something to the listening audience as far as words of encouragement for other folks who either gun violence survivors or their family members may be listening in, what words of encouragement can you offer up to the listening audience?
I would say, even if it's not, I'm gonna do the bigger picture. Victims or survivors of everything. It could be trauma, it could be rape, it could be anything. Just go talk to that person. All we need is a listening ear. Don't talk, don't judge, don't do anything. Just listen to the person. That's all they wanted to do. That's all we want people to do. Just listen.
Perfect. I appreciate you, Brother McClain, and let me just say as well. Again, as I mentioned earlier, you have a supporting family, you have a supporting wife, you have a supporting mother who was there from you through this experience, and your wife up until now. And like you said, sometimes we just need folks to listen, and you can imagine those folks who have nobody to listen to what they are going through, continue to go through, and what have you. And that sometimes could be a lonely feeling. I appreciate you coming on. And sharing your story.
Thank you, brother.
I'm going to have you on again, so be prepared for that. Again, if you like the show and you want to get a hold of me directly, you can contact me at 704-288-4612, or you can go to my website, which is www.practicalfamilyresolutions.com. or email me at practicalfamilyresolutions@gmail.com. We thank you for tuning in the show, and we wish you guys a great day.